Eyewitness Sports.
All right, welcome to episode 3 of Double OT with Yianni and Mark. He is Mark Dondera. I'm Yianni Caracas. How are we doing tonight?
Feeling good, feeling poised.
Feeling poised, ready to go to work?
That's right.
You can catch us exclusively on WPRI.com or via social media. All right, a lot to get to as we tape this on a Tuesday night. We start with the Red Sox. Mark, we all know it's David Ortiz's last go-around with the Red Sox, but he's been on a tear, especially against the Yankees. So I pose the question to you. 3 World Series, so clutch, number 2 all-time in Red Sox and home runs now. Is he the greatest Red Sox player ever?
No. He can't be because he doesn't play the field. There will never be a greatest baseball player ever on any team that doesn't play the field. And David Ortiz, obviously, you just outlined it, outstanding player. I would put him in the Hall of Fame, but he is not the greatest Red Sox player ever.
You sound like one of those old people who can't deal with the DH.
I just think that is, fielding is a big part of baseball, so I can't make him the greatest Red Sox player ever. We could categorize him as something else, but I can't make him the greatest Red Sox baseball player ever, when he doesn't play the field at all.
He is the most accomplished Red Sox player ever. 3 World Series, most clutch. The best Red Sox player ever, I think, is Ted Williams. I don't remember seeing him play because when did he retire?
In 1961.
406 in 1941, unheard of. He didn't even win the MVP that year because DiMaggio hit in 56 consecutive games. Greatest hitter of all time by most accounts. So I think he's the greatest Red Sox player ever, but most accomplished. Pre-04, Yaz is great, Ted Williams is great, all these guys are great, but they never won anything. Baseball is such a sport about individual stats, but until you win anything, I think Ortiz with the 3 supplants Williams and Clemens and Boggs and Rice in terms of accomplishments.
He would be,
but not the greatest.
He would be on the Mount Rushmore of Red Sox. And let me just say this about David Ortiz, and fair or unfair, I do have questions about at 40 years old, you're not supposed to have career years at 40 years old. He is doing it. The bat speed doesn't seem to be going away, and I'm happy. I'm glad, but doesn't happen that way usually, so I have questions.
The formula says 40 years old, no decrease in production, that maybe you have to suspect PED use. Do we give him the benefit of the doubt? Maybe, because he's done this at 37, 38, 39, 40, but the track record of all MLB players, you have to bring it up.
It's impossible not to wonder. So let's move on to the pitching. David Price hasn't been excellent. Stephen Wright has been excellent. But the question is, going forward, do you have more faith in Stephen Wright to keep it going or for David Price to turn it around?
I have more faith in Price to turn it around, and here's why. You can't trust a knuckleballer. They're so streaky. They're like 3-point shooters. They're hot, they're cold. I mean, Tim Wakefield would have halves in years where he was unhittable. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the knuckle dances, sometimes it doesn't. I think Stephen Wright, to expect him to have a sub-2 ERA is absurd. I think he'll have a good year. Maybe if he's mid-3s by the end of the year, I think you take that. David Price, we all know, has struggled. Apparently, Dustin Pedroia found some glitch in his delivery, and he's going to turn it around. It's supposed to be a nice warm night on his next start on Thursday. Price has too much of a track record of production not to turn this thing around. His ERA is above 6, but I think as the weather gets warmer and he can kind of get the kinks out, I think Price will return. I don't think he'll be an all-star. I think if he ends the year 14, 15 wins, sub-4 ERA, you take that.
I'm worried about that warm weather aspect of this that you just brought up. I know, it's been thrown around that maybe in the colder weather he's not as good. Playoffs, postseason, that's colder weather, so that doesn't make me feel warm and tingly. But the answer is David Price because he's won a Cy Young. He's been one of the best pitchers in the league. Stephen Wright, I mean, we were trying to figure out if this is really happening. So Stephen Wright, it's great. I think he could keep it going into the later stages of this year, but I don't think if I have to put my faith with one player, it's David Price. Another thing that I don't love about David Price, John Lester, when he was here, lefty, horse. Big guy. Price is a skinnier guy, and when you're a fastball pitcher or more of a power pitcher, I'd rather see a bigger guy that holds up and stands the test of time.
91 to 93.
Not good enough.
Mid to high 90s. We need that to go up for sure. Let's switch gear to football here. Patriots, Danny Amendola restructured his deal. He is staying with the team at a lower price against the cap. First year, 13, 14, so he's been here 3 years. A lot of expectations. He was supposed to be Wes Welker's replacement, not Julian Edelman. So how would you characterize Danny Amendola's Patriots career thus far?
Okay, in one word, I would say timely. And the reason I say timely is because I think he played his best in the biggest moment, and that means the world to me. Because Wes Welker, and maybe this isn't, you know,
hate Welker.
I don't hate Welker. I do not. But this is what it is. The lasting memory I have of Wes Welker is dropping balls in big playoff games. That's what I remember about Wes Welker.
Do you blame the Super Bowl loss on his drop?
That's a ball. We're not going to get into that, but that is a ball he should have caught. That was more on Welker than on Brady.
Yes.
There was a safety there. He had to get it. If he, we're not getting into that. That was more on Welker.
Okay.
He had to catch that ball, and he, you know, that's what I remember. I know he was ultra productive, put his body on the line, and it was great. He was a great regular season player, but he didn't get it done in the playoffs. And what I remember about Danny Amendola is the big playoff moments, the catches, the surprises. We didn't think he was going to be that clutch, and he came through.
The word I have for Amendola's Patriot career is sufficient, and it's similar to your argument in that a little bit of a J.D. Drew career, in that J.D. Drew hit that grand slam for the Red Sox in 2007 that helped them win the World Series. And he batted, .240 the rest of the time. But the Patriots are good enough, and they play on the big enough stage that it's in those clutch moments. If he doesn't catch the ball from Edelman in the Ravens game when they're down 2 scores, I don't think the Patriots win the Super Bowl that year. He also caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So as you said, big moments for Amendola. Would I prefer, I don't think he has separation as much as Edelman, but there are times when the Pats have been banged up where he's been Brady's go-to guy. So, listen, I think overall his stats could have been better, but he's been clutch, I guess you could say. And we like him because 2 things. 1, he lives in Providence, or did until that carport debacle. 2, no matter how bad Amendola was playing, he always would talk in the locker room.
Oh, yeah. Very good
And a little inside baseball here. But there are certain guys in the Pats locker room, you go up to him, that guy's, he's not that friendly, or he spoke yesterday, he won't speak today. Like some guys only speak once a week. Amendola is always willing to talk. So he's media friendly, so we appreciate that.
We do appreciate that. So another guy I would consider as media friendly is Tom Brady, although, he's a little more restricted as far as access goes. But the question here is, you just alerted me to a mattress thing he endorses. We know about the food he eats and the diet he...
$200 cookbook he just put out. That's sold out already.
So he endorses specific foods. With all that and the high-end sponsorships, is he still one of the guys in the locker room, or can he be?
I think he is still one of the guys, but here's the deal. Brady is actually being true to himself. He is married to Gisele Bündchen. He is a mega super duper star internationally. So unlike your boy Peyton Manning, who's out there hawking Papa John's and Nationwide insurance, you think Manning's eating Papa John's?
Probably not.
No, maybe. He's probably got a gourmet pizza shop or a homemade chef. Tom Brady's like, listen, I make a ton of money. Appearance matters to my wife and I because of our professions. So I'll use Uggs, Tag Heuer watch, super expensive mattresses, because that's my lifestyle. He's not a fraud. He lives it, right? We've all seen his house. And so in the context of the locker room, I think all that is blocked out. They're just talking football. Maybe he and the guys are, when Michigan plays Ohio State, they're doing friendly bets and they're joking on each other. So I think in the locker room, he's one of the guys. But outside of the locker room, publicly, he portrays an image of what he is, which is a really rich, successful, handsome man who's married to a supermodel.
Well said. I think he can be one of the guys, and I don't think it's awkward at all. And when those rookies or whomever get in there, I think it's Tom Brady, the quarterback. I don't think they're worried about the millions of dollars and the super style lifestyle or whatever. I think it's just about football. But don't tell me that Gisele didn't sit him down at one point and explain to him, hey, Tom, you're a part of my brand. So I expect you to act a certain way. I expect you to look a certain way. And we're going to clean up these eyebrows. Or we're going to do this. And we're going to make
the long hair was terrible.
So there is no way that conversation didn't take place, and I don't blame him because, my wife's giving me not to that level, but I've gotten conversations about, hey, you need to act a certain way when we're at the company, whatever. So.
And you know what I think helps all this? Bill Belichick holds everyone accountable. He will dog Brady in practice to prove to the guy, number 53 on the roster, that no one is safe here.
Of course, he's coached.
Yeah.
You think LeBron James is coached?
No,
Guy
LeBron
doesn't get
James
coached.
coaches others.
No.
All right, let's switch gears to the Celtics. The draft lottery is next week. And Mark, dating back to the year Tim Duncan was number one, Celtics had a good chance at the number one pick. The Kevin Durant, Greg Oden draft, they had a good chance at the number one pick. Every time the luck of the Irish, the Celtics, doesn't come through. This year, statistically, the third best chance to get the number one overall. Will they get lucky, finally?
Sure. Yeah, they're going to be lucky. They're going to get the pick. They're going to win. They'll at least be in the top. What are they? I'll say they'll get the number one pick. Celtics will get it. Listen, I don't know. I mean, the balls, they don't bounce their way.
They don't.
And whenever they had really good drafts, and I'm thinking of Larry Bird, Len Bias, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Larry Bird, didn't Red Auerbach draft him
a year
before,
Yeah.
and then Len Bias, Auerbach fleeced somebody, and they had the number 2 overall pick the year after they won the NBA championship. So they don't get lucky in the draft lottery. So sure, this year they will get lucky, and we'll win the lottery.
I think they don't get lucky.
Again.
I think it just continues to be the status quo. Maybe they get 4 overall. Maybe I think the basketball gods thought the Celtics were too spoiled with all the championships in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they have it out for the Celtics. So I'm going to do a reverse jinx.
Okay.
And say that they're not going to
Let me just
lucky.
say something about what you just said. I think that wouldn't be the thing that wouldn't be devastating about that is there isn't a Durant and Oden this year. There's
Ben
guys
Simmons.
you like that. Yeah, Ben Simmons and the kid from Duke, Ingram. But I don't think there's a guy you have to have.
Right.
LeBron James, Shaq, when he can't. You'd like to get the top pick and have your options. But, I think there's some guys there that could go 4 or 5 that it wouldn't shock me if anyone ended up better than LeBron James, I would have been shocked. There's other guys that wouldn't shock me if they wound up better than Simmons or Brandon Ingram. So we'll see. The NBA draft, by the way, right around the time of the CVS Caremark Charity Classic. We're excited about
June.
that. We don't want to give away
CVS
too much.
Health.
CVS Health Caremark Charity Classic.
No
we got some
Caremark,
time.
CVS Health.
So it's okay. So we got there it is. So we got time to get straight on the sponsorship. Anyway, one of the big names, one of the guys we're most excited to see, Bryson DeChambeau. Do you think that this is one of the biggest names that they've gotten recently in terms of he could become a big-time player in golf going forward?
So the challenge for Brad Fax and Billy Andrade is getting big-name players. So, Tiger isn't coming and Rory because those guys' schedules are just absurd. So what they've done well in the past is get guys right on the doorstep of them being stars. Bubba Watson a few years ago, Ricky Fowler. And this guy, I didn't know who he was 3 months ago, but he had a great showing in the Masters. He was in it until the 2nd or 3rd round. And I saw a stat today. He is the only, I think, the 5th player ever to win an NCAA championship and to win the U.S. Amateur. So this guy's stock is high, big, athletic dude. And so I'm excited to see him in Barrington because I think he could be the next big player. You're a big golf fan. Do you think maybe he can saddle up there with Spieth and Rory and Jason Day as one of the big name guys?
Well, if you heard, I'm stoked to see this guy. If you heard him, first of all, at the Masters, talks a good game. Confident, has stuff to say, so that's going to be good. He wears a scally cap, so that's the biggest thing. That his big, that's kind of his MO. That Irish-looking cap. So that is great to see. And I think this kid is going to turn into a player, and I think he's going to be up there with some of the best. That stat you just mentioned, the 5th guy to win both the NCAA championship and the U.S. Amateur. Do you know who the other guys who won it were? It was
Arnie?
No. It was
Jack?
Jack, Phil, Tiger, and Ryan Moore. But I'll play the odds and say that it was he's going to be closer to those other 3 guys because it doesn't happen often. He was confident. He was a low am at the Masters. I love this guy.
We'll see which Nike or Reebok or
I think he already signed. I think he already signed with Puma.
Puma.
I think so. Don't quote me on that.
Is he going to make it orange?
He
so
didn't sign
with.
He didn't sign with Nike or Reebok or one of them.
Obviously not
Under
Reebok.
Armour. I think it was Puma. I think.
That's Fowler's brand.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see.
All right, wrap it up with one more. It's May.
Yeah.
A lot going on. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, baseball's in there. You have horse racing. What else is going on? NBA draft lottery. So there's a lot going on. Busy time on the sports calendar. So is May the best time on the sports calendar?
So
3 of the 4 pro
we're picking,
sports. NBA draft, NFL draft.
We're picking 1 month, right?
1 month.
1 month you could watch during the entire year. You could watch sports for 1 month. Which month are you picking? I'm picking October. And I went back and forth on this, but I just think you get the most bang for your buck in October. I'm a big fan of the MLB playoffs, so I'll get my playoff fix. You have NFL football. Usually by then you're in the middle of the season, or you obviously are. Big games. You kind of know about the teams. You kind of get a sense for who's good, who isn't good. You have big NFL games, college football, obviously. The basketball, NBA basketball starts towards the end of the month. Yep. Hockey is you get everything. Plus, if it's a Ryder Cup year, the Ryder Cup usually ends October 2nd. So you get your fix there. I mean, no matter what month you pick, you're giving up some gold. You have to.
So October is potentially one of the few months that has all 4 sports. I don't have much to say against what you just said.
Okay.
It's October because playoff baseball, like in 2013 when the Red Sox were in the World Series, do you remember that day where the Pats came back to beat the Saints at home?
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a World Series game that night. Like the Boston sports scene was just a buzz. So you can't beat. NFL has to be included in any sports.
Right, you have to have
the
the month where there's
NFL is the sport I think we all care about the most or follow the most because of fantasy and of various other reasons. But I'm going to go with October. May is good because I like the playoff. Playoff hockey is fantastic.
Correct.
NBA playoff,
big games every night.
Fantastic. Baseball, but you really don't know what's going on with baseball this time of year. Any other months that
Yes, I would. If the Super Bowl was in January, I would have said January because you would have had the entire. You would have had the BCS or the College Football National Championship, the winter sports. You'd have the NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl has typically been in February, so that doesn't work. The other month I would put there with the bronze, April. You get the College Basketball National Championship game, the Masters, baseball opening day, so I put that up there as my 3rd favorite month.
All right, that'll do it for the 3rd episode of Double OT with Yianni Mark. This is on WPRI.com every week, and we send out these specific topics on Twitter and Facebook. Mark, you have anything to add?
No.
All right, so check us out every week, and this will soon become a podcast on iTunes for all those iPhone users. You can listen to us on the drive-in to work.
Perfect.
All right, we'll see you next time.